Morning, folks. Nicole Sauce here on the morning walk. Tomorrow I fly across the country to California. Yeah, this has all been up in the air because, as you all know, we're doing Kickstart Hollow Roast, and we've been doing great. And the roaster upgrade's been under manufacture, which is super exciting. But it is being built in a world where when you order parts don't always show up. So it's getting pretty close, and the guy building it's like, I don't know exactly when it'll be because I'm waiting for this part and that part. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to go to California as planned, see my nieces, celebrate a birthday, fly home, and then probably drive to Kansas, I hope, to get this roaster. But I'm not going to drive to Kansas if it's not ready. That wouldn't be worth it, would it? Anyway, found a car this week and bought it from my neighbor. I was been stringing my Nissan Versa along while looking for a RAV4 that's newer or new to buy. And right now in the market, because manufacturing has been disrupted, it's not a buyer's market, it's a seller's market. And I thought, I'll get another used car, which I did from my neighbor. It's a Nissan Xterra. And did I say Nissan RAV4? Because I meant Toyota RAV4. Anyway, it's an Xterra, and it works. And we're getting it all tuned up next week while I'm out of town. Then I'll come back and have stable transportation. As many of you who follow my podcast know, I've been borrowing neighbors' cars for like 3 months while I keep trying to repair my car, and came to two conclusions. One, I want two cars around. They serve different purposes, like one that's more fuel efficient, one that's more appropriate for what we do at Hollow Roast, which is haul lots of 150-pound bags of coffee around. Those mutts need to go to the vet sometimes. So got that all done. Anyway, I wanted to talk today about something that happened to me yesterday on the internet. A friend of mine posted something along the lines of, Christians, tell me this. Like, why is it that, when it's Jesus says feed the poor, it's a good thing, and when government officials say feed the poor, you call it socialism? And I was like, okay, I gotta be honest here. Nicole has not cracked a Bible in like 20 years. And I haven't been to a church in a long time either. So technically, he probably wasn't aiming at me with that question. But I was like, well, one is voluntary and one uses force. His answer to me, and this told me not to continue the discussion, was, who's forcing poor people to eat food? So I wrote back, and this was my mistake. I said, are you deliberately misunderstanding me? And he went off on forcing people to accept health care and food. And basically, what I figured out is something about the political environment, probably in the news cycle, had triggered him and pissed him off. And now he's mad at Christians because it's Christians against, I don't know, is it Christians against heathens? Is it racists against PC people? I don't know. Anyway, there's a division that's being purposefully furthered outside of the political left and right. That is, like people who are passionate about policy changes are one way. They're being manipulated by the people who are actually manipulating us with rhetoric. And it's not been a very good few years. Like, watching what's happening in our country right now is a lot like when I was studying how the Nazis, and let's take, the extermination of Jews out of this when we hear this, because I know that's terrible and people think of fascism as synonymous with that. We've been having fascism enacted in our country since before World War II. And it's still being pushed. And the people pushing it aren't framing it that way. They're framing it other ways. They're framing it as capitalism sometimes. They're framing it as social programs sometimes. Anytime you hear the term public-private partnership run away, that's fascism. That right there is fascism, and they want more of that. Why? Because it's working so well. It works great to force people to buy insurance, to then get medical care. That doesn't set up any cronyism. That doesn't set up any abuse of the system, does it? Oh, wait. No, that's the problem with the Affordable Care Act. So then, of course, people come at you when you talk about that opinion. Don't you want poor people to get health care? Well, I would love to find a way for everybody to have access to health care. I think healthcare starts with taking care of your health, and we don't have an environment where we encourage people to do that. That's, step number one. But forcing people to buy insurance, which is a public-private partnership. We tell the insurance what they have to provide, and then we force people to buy it. I mean, it's a tax, because if you don't buy it, you get, quote unquote, a tax. Well, anyway, that's really just forcing people to buy something. And it's all under the auspices of the people who are healthy need to pay for the people who are not healthy, right? That's fascism. You have corporations being controlled by government officials. Neither one of those things are good, right? It's just, it sets up a system for abuse, because then the providers can charge more, not have to, but they can charge more. And because they are forced to provide everybody a certain set of things, and because people hold intellectual property rights on some of those things, any price that can be set can be set. In addition, there are layers and layers and layers of red tape. Ask me how I know, because I still control my health care, which means I pay for my health care, just to get a bill out the door. Because in order to bill for health insurance, or for a health service through the health insurance, you have to code it right, and then out of the chute you get declined, and then you have to argue with them, and eventually your $89 appointment, the appointment I would pay $89 for, has had 2 or 3 iterations through insurance, the whole time paying somebody, $30,000 to $80,000 a year who pushes paper for that to follow up on it, in addition to people at the insurance company. It's no wonder that an $89 doctor's appointment is costing $300-400, and then all the prices go up. And this is a cycle we've been seeing. And I have to say right now, because when I talk about the Affordable Care Act, people think I'm targeting Obama. The mechanism by which this abuse was put in place was under Ronald Reagan, when I forget what it's called right now off the top of my head, but basically they said all hospitals have to provide care, and then we'll pay you for it if the people are too poor to pay you for it. So that regulatory upholding of the Hippocratic Oath is what has set the foundation for a lot of the problems we see today. We just keep adding layers and layers and layers on top of bad policy, because if you have bad policy, adding more bad policy will fix it, right? Anyway, so back to this internet conversation. It turned into, well, first of all, a lot of people making assumptions about where I'm coming from that were wrong, like that I would support military intervention, right? I'm pro-war, because obviously I'm pro-war if I'm not about feeding the poor, neither of which are true. I think we should help anybody we can help, and the best way to do that is to strengthen your community and find community solutions, because that's the way you get stuff directly to the people who need it, right? That's how you provide a safety net. Something I love about my community is they set up, those like little libraries that people have in the cities where you can just put books out and other people come and you leave a book, take a book. We have that for pantries here. COVID hit. Some brilliant person in our area was like, you know what? I'm going to build this pantry area, and it's the giving pantry. And if you need something, you take it. And if you leave something, you leave it. I've got too many potatoes this year that are, organically handled and really healthy potatoes. And I've been looking at those, wondering what to do. Like, do I dry them? What do I do? And I looked at the pantry. I found out the pantry was low on food, and I was like, you know what I can do? I can drop by the pantry, and I can put, sets of potatoes in that over the next couple of months, because that's how many potatoes I have. If I put them all there, they will go bad, but I have the capacity to store them in a way that they will last. So those kinds of solutions are a lot more powerful than, forcing somebody's neighbor with threat of jail time to put money into a system that serves the poor that doesn't serve the poor. Because if we're honest, the system that we have set up through our quote-unquote safety net doesn't work. And so we keep arguing about how to make it work, and one side wants to reduce support to make it work, and the other side wants more money poured in to make it work, never caring that money goes elsewhere than the people who actually need it. It goes to the administrators who oversee it. It goes to their pension programs. It goes to their existing health care. It goes to all of the benefits they get. It goes to an ever-increasing salary of public officials that has outpaced salary increases in the private sector by a lot. So, I guess we could keep paying public officials more to do less, but what if instead of that, we could find a way to get people who need food, the food, to get people who need jobs, jobs, by removing all the layers of red tape, to get people who need housing, housing. And that's my perspective. Yes, I want to see people thrive. I think some people have mental challenges and we need to help them with that. I think mental health is something we hide in this country, dealing with and addressing mental health. That's why I am so open with y'all about the fact I am taking care of my mental health by paying a psychologist to work with me on some issues I know I have, right? If that was more normalized, it would be a lot easier for people to crack that nut. And yes, there are some people who simply can't take care of themselves, and it's up to the community to figure out how to do that. We don't want to leave people sitting in a pile of poop by a creek twitching. I'm sorry. I mean, I know that can happen, but we don't want to do that. It's not good for the person and it's not good for your community. So anyway, as I watched this conversation unfold and assumptions being made about what my political perspective is, I realized what was going on, and it was the orange man bad factor, okay? There are people who love Trump. He can do no wrong. That's orange man good. There are people who, if Donald Trump walked up to an orphan and gave them $1 million and paid for their college education, would find some way to twist that into he's a horrible person. I don't actually interact on that level of politics anymore because it's part of how they control us. What happened in this conversation was rhetoric was thrown back at me. You're either, for helping the poor, or, you're a racist or whatever. I mean, it went through this whole thing. Are you for healthcare? Are you for all these things? And the answer is you can be for that and not think the government has to provide it. And that's where I'm at. I am for helping people, really helping people, all the way helping people. Setting an expectation of responsibility that you as the individual help people. And that can involve helping them get health care. That can involve helping them get food. That can involve helping them become independent enough that they're not reliant on a monthly check from the government. I just think that seeding or paying the government to do this isn't very efficient. It's very inefficient, and that we can do much better as a society if we stop making ourselves draw within the lines, right? It's either Republican or Democrat. It's either black or white. It's either left or right. It's one of two things, and you choose the lesser of two evils. That attitude is what's gotten us here. I'm done with the lesser of two evils, and I'm more interested in solutions. I'm more interested in the power of what we can do when we decide to just solve the problem versus outsourcing it and threatening other people with jail if they don't pay in, which is what we're doing, to do it. And so what's the difference between urging people to take care of those in their community by providing food and a government official threatening other people with jail to take care of poor people? It's just that. One is done through persuasion. One is done by making your right choice. One is much more moral than the other one, where you either are forced to do it if you don't want to, which I give people the prerogative to be jerks. It's fine. There aren't as many jerks as we think there are. Or paying in so you don't feel guilty or like you have to take responsibility. Because when you look at how our social system is built, that's what it is. Well, I paid my taxes, so now I don't have to care about the people. No, that's not how I am. Anyway, that's my long diatribe. Make it a great week.